Hey traders, how's it going? Let's get started into this week's weekly wrap up. Now, last week we were saying we were looking here on the S&P, possibly looking for a bounce higher and then, a bit of a retrace. But in fact, what we've seen here is a really, really nice continuation breakout on the lower time frames. Now, that will have caught a lot of people who were trying to short here, and that's what's probably caused these explosive type of bars of where we're seeing these. You've seen this explosive bar and where people were short here, got stopped out here, caused the momentum higher. Probably something similar here. Stops would have been in around this area, again causing an explosive move up. Now, with that happening, we're back into this zone here. So the next area of potential major resistance would be up here. The next potential area of major support is here. Actually, it still could be resistance. We could close, or we could begin the week down. So we can open here and then close here and then start to head down. So we could open here, close down here, pop back here, start to do something like that. Who knows? It's a probability, doesn't mean it's definitely going to happen. The other sort of thing that could happen is we could open and start running straight away, and we could possibly head up higher into this area. That's, I would say, a decent probability of happening, but the most probable one I think that will happen is pop higher, pull back into this zone, maybe a bit further, trap again shorts, and then we start to rally a bit higher and further into this zone, and then possibly from here we could range. There's still a decent chance we could actually head higher if there isn't anything bad that comes out. If there is anything not good for the US, then yeah, we could head lower. We're technically still, well, it wasn't a very bearish trend, but we're kind of not really in a bearish trend now. You could almost say if this starts to do that, when it closes up here, we could be resuming the bullish trend, which would be really interesting. Now, apart from that, we're having to really keep a very close eye on this, see how it goes, because it's going to help other stocks in our portfolios and watch this that we're looking at, and sort of helps us gauge as to either we want to take them long or take them short. Now, this will sort of help with that sort of sentiment as well. If we take a look here on the volatility index, this is one of the ETFs. This has been in a pretty massive sell-off since the bounce at the end of December. We're back into an area of potential support. So if we're drawing a trend line or two, broken above that, retested and then broke higher, back into this support line. So any resistance that we see in the S&P or any rejections, any volatile moves will correlate directly to this, and we'll see this start to bounce. If there's not, we could just break below, and it could start to fade again like it has done many times in the past. Now, if we look at US oil very quickly, we can see this is coming up to a point of potential resistance. So if it starts to resist this sort of area, we can start to look for opportunities, especially if the S&P is starting to break down again. Because if you see here on the 26th, it was exactly the same day S&P bounced, oil bounced, and it's been on the same sort of trajectory of a massive bullish run. So it's quite interesting to see that. If there's any opportunities in the next week or so, we want to see here first. If we break above that, the next area is $60 per barrel. And we'll see how it reacts there as to whether we actually start to have more of a long bias or we continue with a short bias, because right now we're still in a bearish trend. As you can see, there's a massive sell-off. So we're coming into areas of potential areas to look for any signals, which we'll keep an eye on our watch lists. Now, lithium, not much difference from last week. Bit of a bullish flag here. Now, if you don't know what a bullish flag is, very quickly, if we pop that in, and then you sort of imagine there's a flagpole up here that forms this little flag, breaking out to the higher. It's more of a bullish continuation signal, or pattern, sorry. And something to keep an eye on. Although this ETF, we're not trading. We just keep an eye on this so as we can capitalize on specific stocks that we have on our watch lists that will take advantage of this sort of movement as well. So with that being said, let's move on to Bitcoin very quickly. Not much to go over here. Just big random buy bars and random sell bars. There's not much tradable action down here. Still looking around about this 3K level or even below as somewhere where we could revisit pretty soon. And, you know, we're not overly interested in Bitcoin right now. Same with Ripple. It's more of an area of potential, you know, idea building, you know, position building. But right now we haven't really been trading this at all. Got a longer term position in this still. It's back into our original buy zones from 2017, which is really good. If we revisit those, so if we revisit back in the low 20s, it'll be quite nice to see because potential for signals there are higher. Now, if we could look at here on NIO, which is basically an electric vehicle company, they're been sort of said that the Tesla of China, which is quite interesting, considering China is a massive, or it's massively starting to emerge now. And, you know, China is a bit more bullish than what it used to be. And, you know, there's going to be a lot of opportunity coming out of that sort of area. This could be one of them. Now, we have been long this a couple of times. We were long it last week. Closed the position before the weekend. Just wasn't enough to convince us to keep holding it over the weekend. Plus, there's a holiday on Monday, so I'm going to keep an eye on this. See if there's any more potential long signals next week. If there is, could be a longer term hold. I think it's a low float as well. This thing IPO'd back in September of 2018, so that's why you've seen this massive spike. I think it's a low float. If it is, you know, just keep an eye on something like that. It could be volatile, so it's a bit more riskier. With it being, you know, lower floats and everything, price tends to gap more frequently. Now, a trade that we took, well, this is the swing actually. This one on our long-term account, banked at 26% risk to reward. Really, really nice. And closed it out here. Didn't capture the whole move. You know, it would have banked a bit more, obviously. Well, that's not our point. Our point was to look for 40 as a potential area to target. And we started to resist that area. And so we got out. And on the lower time frames, we were looking for potential as well. So we missed this run here. This massive buy bar was caused by on January 14th. When was that? That was Monday. Monday, we seen this news got announced. So they got a New York hemp license, which means they're going to be investing more into that. As soon as that news was released, there was massive buying here on the lower time frames. This is the hourly. So we didn't capture any of this, unfortunately. We waited for a pullback, and I think it was the next morning. Yeah, next morning we waited for a pullback, tried in here very quickly, 0.1% position, just to get a taster before we started adding, that we did down here. Got stopped out just here, so we bought here, stop was here. Done the same thing here, added a couple times, 0.1%, got stopped out. Then we've seen price start to really on the level 2, timing sales and everything, start to get a lot of interest. So we started to load into a proper position, and stop was pretty tight on this one too, and watched it get higher. There was a scaling opportunity roughly here and another one here, missed both of those, and then watched it go higher up to here, and then didn't like the way it was reacting to pre-market highs, so started to sell some of the position here. Since it couldn't make a higher high, waited for it to create a higher or a lower low, pop back up, and started selling the rest of the position in here. So banked roughly 9%, which is quite nice to begin the week. I think this was on Tuesday, so it's quite a nice position. And yeah, look for one of those again. So that pretty much wraps it up for this week. Any questions or anything, let us know. Feel free to, we'll put the links in the descriptions, join our Total Market Traders group, and we'll speak to you next time. Thanks.